Okay, it's in there. See, that's what they're going to be seeing. So I think if you stand right there next to it, here.
I'm gonna move it over there.
Okay. Did they change the clicker?
Oh, like
Nice
that.
wood.
How fun.
Okay. I think you're good there.
All right.
And I think this is your clicker. You want to try it?
Yes. Oh, all right. I don't think this is my slide. No. Also, on slide 13, can we check if the video works to make sure that works? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And then can you go to slide 13? 13. And then can you put it in slideshow just to make sure that it works? No, you're good. No, that's perfectly fine. Are my judges ready? This is Eric Okerbloom. He loves running, playing soccer, and snowboarding in the mountains. This is Kelson Valancourt. He loves camping and hiking with his friends and family in the great outdoors. And this is Alex Brown. She's the valedictorian in her class and is involved in FFA, FCA, basketball, cheerleading, and leadership. But unfortunately, all three of these people passed away in 2009 due to distracted driving. Hello, my name is Will Clarkston, and distracted driving is a serious problem that needs to be paid more attention to, especially among teenagers. And not only distracted driving, but also pure passengers, cell phone usage, seatbelt usage, and drinking and driving. When I got my driver's license, I had this great feeling of self-esteem. I had the independence and the freedom to go wherever I would like. But the issue is that most teenagers, including myself, never think about the dangers of driving. Teenagers are inexperienced at driving, so for them to be drinking and driving is so much more dangerous. Driving under the influence, also known as DUI, is considered as consuming so much alcohol or drugs that you are no longer fit to drive. In 2022, for every 39 minutes, there was one fatality car crash due to driving under the influence. You may think that driving under the influence is no big deal, but it can really affect your judgment and reaction time. When teenagers are driving under the influence, they are 4 times more likely to crash than adults. Parents can have a huge impact on teenagers. Teenagers need to know that they can always call or text their parents when they are under the influence, rather than drive or get in the car with someone that is under the influence. But the issue is that most teenagers are so afraid of their parents that they would rather drive under the influence and risk their lives than tell their parents that they are under the influence. Studies have shown that teenagers that have a close and involved relationship with their parents tend to not abuse alcohol or drugs, rather than those teenagers that don't have a close or involved relationship with their parents. In 2022, about 47% of teenagers ages between 15 to 20 were reported not wearing a seatbelt while driving under the influence. Seatbelt has been known to be the best gadget that we have in a vehicle today. During an interview with Jeff Cunningham, he stated that students are not being educated enough about seatbelts. Seatbelts have proven to reduce injuries by 45% to the front seat passengers. In 2022, about 53% of teenagers were found dead because they were not wearing a seatbelt. Peer passenger is the most dangerous distraction for teenagers, according to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And in the 1990s, the government created something called the Graduated Driver Licensing, also known as GDL. But it wasn't until 2006 when GDL was in all 50 states. GDL states that anyone that gets the license can only have one friend or non-family member in the vehicle for the first 6 months. When teenagers are behind the wheel for the first time, they don't realize that they are responsible for everyone in that vehicle. Teenagers need to feel empowered to set rules for everyone in the vehicle. When there are 2 or more people in the vehicle, the risk of crashing triples. Not only is peer passenger a dangerous distraction, but also technology. With the teenage brain still developing, they are unable to multitask. Whether they're trying to focus on the road and select the music or chat with a friend, they are just unable to do it. Every time when a teenager looks down at their phone, they take their eyes off the road for an average of 4.1 seconds each time. Teenagers are unable to stimulate 2 simple tasks. When they have the option to focus on the road or look down at their phone, they more than likely choose to look down at their phone, which then causes them to not be paying attention on how fast they're going or what they're about to hit. So this leads me to my project. During my time at the Willow Springs School, I noticed that there's just been a lack of education on the dangers of driving. I noticed that our school only talks about the dangers of driving during our freshman year for 1 semester in our health class and every October when it is National Safe Driving Month. When I was in middle school, I knew some high school students that unfortunately passed away due to distracted driving. And during that time, I realized I wanted to do a project that would benefit and be memorable for high school students when they are driving. So for my project, I did a mock car crash for drinking and driving awareness. I had 11 high school students involved. I had the Willow Springs Police, Fire, and Ambulance Department. Also, I had a woman from MoDOT and my mentors, Jeff Cunningham and Marlena Barker. My project took about 6 months of planning. I started my project on May 8, 2024, and I showed my project on October 15, 2024. For me to be able to have the 11 students in my project, the school had me create a parent permission form. That form just told them who I am, what my project is, and what their child will be doing in my project. I had both the students and the parents sign the form. For my project, I had a theme. The theme for my project was prom. The reason why I chose prom to be the theme was because I knew that prom is a big deal for most high school students, and that most high school students are involved in prom. I was lucky enough, and Ventures Floral donated some prom dresses that I could rip, tear, and put fake blood all over. For the guys, I had them go thrift shopping with their parents and put together an outfit that you would wear to prom. And about a week before my project, I ripped, teared, and put fake blood on all 9 outfits I had just based on the role that they were playing in my project. And so here's the after for this prom dress, and here's the after for this suit. So the day of my project, also known as Crash Day, I first started the day off by setting up the 2 cars at the crash site. Once I had that all set up, I had the 11 students go get ready in their makeup and outfit. And once we were all ready, I had the entire high school student body come down to the crash site, which was outside the new gym, to watch my project. Once they were all there, I had the 2 callers call 911, and they were actually calling a 911 dispatcher. And that dispatcher dispatched for emergency crew members. And here is a photo of the 2 parents walking up to the crash site and having to identify their daughter and showing a lot of emotion. And here's a photo of the drunk driver getting his sobriety test with a police officer. And here's everyone that helped me out that day. I have the 11 students in the front row, all the emergency crew members on the side, the theater class that did the makeup for me, and the aviation and Bear Media class that filmed my project. I also had the Bear Media class create a 30-minute video and publish that video to the school's YouTube page. And here's a little video.
Let me have it! Get back, get back, get back, get back, get back. Get back, get back, get back.
As you can see, I tried to make my project look as real as possible. And if the volume was working, you would be able to hear the parents showing a lot of emotion with the yelling and the screaming and the fighting, with all the parents showing a lot of emotion because their daughter has just passed away in this car crash. Like any other project, there are of course challenges. My first challenge I had was picking students. I spent a few weeks trying to decide what students I want to have in my project. At first, I was going to pick the theater class because I knew that they are experienced in being in front of a crowd. But then I was told from the person from MoDOT to not pick a small group of students, but yet pick a variety of high school students. Which then that led me to have a lot of trial and error with what students I'm going to pick, and I had to create a lot of backups. My next challenge was organizing meetings. I had about 4 meetings with the students, and about 6 of us, including myself, were involved in sports during that time. So I couldn't do an after-school meeting, and I just set the meetings before school started, which meant that I need to tell each and every student when the meeting is, and I tried to tell them a week or a week and a half advance. And I would also bribe the students with donuts to make sure that they would come to the meeting. And I had one big meeting with all the emergency crew members, the women from MoDOT, and some of the students. And I also had to pick a date that would work for everyone and remind each and every person when the meeting is. My next challenge was taking control and informing. I've never done a project this big before, so I knew what I wanted, but I had to make sure I told each and every person what their role is and how they're supposed to be playing their role in my project. But I've definitely learned through all these challenges, and I learned how to be more flexible, more organized, and how to talk to others better. With all that being said, distracted driving is a serious problem that needs to be paid more attention to, especially among teenagers. When I finished my project, I had multiple high school students coming up to me and telling me that my project has now changed the way that they view driving, and that they are now trying to focus more on the road and not on their cell phone. If these 3 people were more educated about the dangers of driving, they would be in their 30s and with us today. But unfortunately, they are not. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
How do you feel, implementing in the school? How do you feel the school could be better, or how would that work?
I think rather than just talking about it during the health class or every October, thing and to talk about wearing seatbelts, or if we just do this project every year and to show the students.
Presentation?
Yes. I saw my brother and his friends passed away in the car crash a few years ago, and I just wanted to do a project that would benefit others, especially high school students.
Thanks, outstanding project.
Thank you.
I had the pleasure of being part of it. Thank you for that.
Yep, thank you.
What was your toughest challenge that you had to deal with during this?
The toughest challenge was organizing all of this together. I started before school summer started, and so I was also working 40 hours a week at my job, also taking another math class and trying to enjoy my senior summer. So me also trying to do this project was also a conflict, not a conflict, but was another thing to add throughout the summer and trying to find room. Thank you. Thanks. No, it's fine. It's completely, I covered it up with my speech. Thank you. Yes. I will get the video for the flag done next week. I'll work on it this week. I'll just keep it. I just got distracted.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We know you're busy. Thank you very much. You did a really good job.
Thank you.
I didn't know what to do. I don't, the logging, I don't know. No idea. I don't either. He's got a Mac.
My name's just Parks. Hey, guys. How are you?
That's like 414 or 419. Oh, 414. Okay, I was like, whoa, what's this? Yes. Are you next, Tyler? Okay. It's Tyler. Do you have a video on yours? Okay.
Are my judges ready? Millions of people around the world suffer from food insecurity every single year. In fact, 1 in 7 people go to bed hungry each night. Food insecurity is the lack of food resources to countries or people in need. My name is Tyler Collins, and I believe that food insecurity is a problem that can and should be solved. The reason why I picked this was because of family. My grandmother has always made food for me for Thanksgiving and Christmas every single year for most of my life. She has been a very large inspiration for me. I also did this because I care about others. I knew about food insecurity, knew it was a pretty big problem, but I didn't think it was quite as big as a problem as I thought it was. So doing the research on this really opened my eyes to a new view. But how many people actually suffer from food insecurity every year? Well, 795 million people suffer from it every year. But there are a lot more people who also suffer from water insecurity, with over 1 billion people suffering from water insecurity every year. They have to make 3 to 7 hour long journeys just in order to get water to live. Now, in order to actually combat food insecurity, an increase of 30 to 40% in agricultural activity must happen in order to meet the current needs that the world has. But in order to meet the world's needs in 2050, when the world's population is projected to be around 9 billion people, an increase of 70% must happen. But there are 3 things that are in the way of facing food insecurity. The first is food waste, the second is climate change, and the third is water insecurity. With food waste, over 30% of all food is wasted off of plates and never eaten. And 40% of all food from farms, it never even reaches the market. This is caused mainly due to things such as this. This is what you can consider an ugly food. These foods are edible, but usually do not meet the look expectations of what people would actually eat. But these are edible, and I believe they should be edible. In fact, markets in France have done projects that have caused people not to waste as much food in markets, because people who have markets will sometimes not release this ugly food out front so that people would pick the better looking stuff. But they introduced a new way in order to stop this by putting fees on wasted food just like this. Another way that it could be fixed is through food processing. Food processing not only increases the shelf life of it, it also increases the nutrients inside food and also improves the quality of the food. With this being said, food processing takes the old food and turns it into much better food, so that would lower the amount of food waste that happens. And also, another way that it can be combated is through plant-based diets. Plant-based diets give a lot more harvest and can be used with a lot less materials. But the problem with plant-based diets is that they cannot be placed just about anywhere, which is where the solution for meat-based diets comes along. They can be placed in just about many different areas. So if in an area you cannot raise things such as corn or rice, you can replace it with meat-based diets such as cows or pigs. And together, if we use both of these diets together, food insecurity can be combated. In fact, a study was done over food waste by a company named Project New Dawn. Project New Dawn researched that if over 50% of the entire world used plant-rich but not purely vegetarian diets, food waste would go down from 40% to 20%. And this went down even further if 75% of the world used plant-based diets, and it would go down from 40% to 10%. Also, another way that food insecurity could be combated is through rice. Rice is grown in many countries, in over 114 of them, in fact. And also, rice alone makes up for 21% of the human per capita energy in the world. But for the longest time, it had a problem. It lacks beta-carotene. Beta-carotene, also known as provitamin A, is a nutrient that is essential for the human body. With this provitamin A, the body can transfer it into vitamin A. If the body does not have vitamin A, it can lead to a deficiency also known as vitamin A deficiency, also known as VAD. VAD can cause blindness, impaired vision, death, and immunodeficiency. But for the longest time, this problem was around until golden rice. Golden rice is a new variant of rice that was released by scientists. This rice increased the amount of beta carotene in rice by over 23-fold, and it was released to developing countries and farmers that needed it more than most other countries. But another thing that's in the way of food insecurity is climate change. Climate change can and will cause detrimental effects to the environment. It can cause things such as droughts and floods to happen to wipe out many farms. And also, it can cause temperatures to increase, causing food not to grow quite as quickly as it should. It can also cause frost not to form on plants. This frost that usually forms on plants kind of acts as a natural insect repellent and causes pests and insects not to ravage fields. But due to climate change, this frost doesn't occur, and so pests and insects are more likely to actually harm agriculture. And also, it causes more harm than climate change causes a lot of harm through its food prices. Food prices were already supposed to increase by a minimum of 50% by the year 2050. But due to climate change, that number has reached up to over 100% more than it usually would. But in order to get past climate change, I believe that we should protect the crops. If we were able to maintain the crop's temperature, it would have a far better chance of actually surviving. And also, I believe that if we went straight to the source of figuring out how to actually combat climate change itself through food systems and research, I believe that this problem could go away. But there's also one major factor that's in the way of food insecurity. That's water scarcity. In the world, only 2.5% of all water is fresh water, but of that fresh water, only 0.1% of it is available to humanity. But of that, 70% of it is used in agriculture. That means only 0.03% of all water is fresh water available for humanity and is used for normal people. Now, this is a really big problem because if there's less water to share for the whole world, then how could this problem be solved? Now, that's a question that's a little bit more controversial because of the fact that there is green and blue water scarcity. Blue water is any water that is taken from resources such as lakes, reservoirs, but green water is taken from any other resource than that. It has been proven that green water does not help with the problem of green and blue water scarcity anymore because it just doesn't do quite enough. And green and blue water scarcity has been increasing steadily by every single year. In fact, in 1905, 21% of the world was suffering from green and blue water scarcity. Now back then, that would be around 360 million people. But as of today, that number has increased to 34%. And that number has increased as well due to the population increasing. And now that is 2.2 billion people suffering from green and blue water every single year. Now, I wanted to give back to the community that I love. I decided I would hold a Thanksgiving banquet for the police department. I sourced all of my food locally here at the G&W here in Willow Springs. I made ham, turkey, mashed potatoes with turkey gravy, green beans with bacon, and stuffing. I was able to feed over 10 officers from the police department and the ambulance team and the highway patrol response team. With this, I had about 2 problems. The first was actually making the food, not really buying it. I was able to find all the ingredients that I needed fairly easily, but actually making the food was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought it would be. The only really slightly big mishap I made was slightly overboiling the potatoes, but other than that, everything else turned out great. But also, holding the event was a big problem as well. I had called multiple months before to make sure that the police department knew that I was going to hold the event and that I was going to be there. But whenever I showed up, the word must have not got spread around quite as much, as there was only 2 officers on duty at the time, with only 2 more coming in later in the day. And they didn't know about my banquet. But I was able to work around this by making plates for other departments in the area so that the food wouldn't go to waste. So Food insecurity is a problem that affects millions of people every single year, but I believe that it's a problem that can be solved through many different ways. I decided to hold a Thanksgiving banquet for the police department. Do my judges have any questions?
Yeah, the food was very good. Appreciate you passion to help out. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
But I am a little confused between what blue water is and green water is.
Okay, so blue water is any water that's taken from like lakes or reservoirs. So if your water came from like a dam, then that would be blue water. But if it was like used in any other way, like how you have bottled water, they use reverse osmosis. So they take water from other things in order to actually bottle that water. So that would be green water.
Have you cooked anything before?
Not much. I had taken a foods class earlier this year just to make sure I can have a little bit more touch up on how to actually make sure the food is good and healthy.
So is there anything that you learned during the process?
Yeah, I never really like went through the whole entire process of ever making a Thanksgiving meal before, but yeah, I learned how to make the turkey and how to properly cook the ham.
Have someone providing some assistance when you were cooking, or did you take it on
Yeah.
all on your
I
own?
had Regina Roberts here at the school. She was my mentor for this project. We were able to make the food up at the middle school lunch, in the middle school kitchen, and we used some of the resources there, such as like the spoons and some butter for the for rolls. Well, there was one part in my research that said that the ability for food security also depends on if any countries have any conflicts or if they have any problems. So through that, I wanted to make sure that I gave back to a community that I know and love. The officers here at the high school, officers like Officer Cunningham and Officer Moore, have always been a pretty big inspiration for me. So I wanted to give back to some of the people to help make this community a little better.
You have to
I have
judge
to
at
judge
5.
this one.
This one right here or the
No,
5 o'clock?
no, the next one. I judge at 5.
When do you want to go?
I don't. I
I can go ahead and go now.
Okay. Just on his.
Test 1 2.
Right there.
Oh, is it on right now?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Hey everyone on the live stream. Are my judges ready? How many people in this room have played an instrument of any kind as a child? I'm sure that some of us here have played guitar or piano, but how many of us have held a concert instrument like trumpet or saxophone? I'm sure that number was even smaller than it was before. Most kids in Willow Springs don't even touch an instrument until they're in 6th grade. But if we introduce the idea of being musically active to kids sooner in life, rooms just like this one could be filled with people benefiting from music even into their adulthood.
My name is Logan Mullins, and music programs should be offered to kids sooner in life. Now, most kids don't have access to a musical instrument at home, or even sometimes even music in general, but I was fortunate enough to have something that I could play. Now, my aunt was actually in the band growing up, and she had brought her trumpet home for me to play. Now, even at that age, I thought that this was going to be the coolest thing in the world to me. And I knew that I was going to take this with me for perhaps even the rest of my life. Now, music is something that I know to be very beneficial. And some benefits of music are that it just helps you physically. Being musically active helps calm you down and prepare you for a calm mode of being. It helps soothe your body and relaxes you so that whenever you're listening to music, you're feeling calm, even in times of very high stress. Music is something that is extremely beneficial. Even if it's not helping you build muscles, it is helping you build and maintain in a happy environment. Music also helps benefit you mentally. It helps whenever you're listening to a concert with a bunch of friends and even people who you are not friends with, and you're just in the same environment as them, it helps build up and maintain a good community and helps you build and maintain friendships even with other people who you may not even know yet. Music helps calm you down mentally as well at the same time as physically. It helps relax your brain and soothes you so that even when you're super stressed out and you're feeling all of these negative emotions, you could still be feeling some positive affirmations whenever you listen to music. Music is also something that helps strengthen your memory. Memory is something that is extremely important to lots of different people growing up, and being able to have very strong memory is a necessity for a lot of different people. The way that it strengthens your memory is it helps activate those pathways that actually provide you memory. So whenever let's say for example, you're in a car ride with your little brother, and your little brother has just been born, and you are just driving out to the hospital, and you are listening to a song that maybe is your favorite song ever. Whenever you listen to that same song again in the future, you are taken back to that exact moment, strengthening that memory even stronger than it could have been alone. So music and memory is extremely important to young children as well. Having good memory as a child will help develop you for the rest of your life. Whenever you're, as a young child, memory is extremely important, and it can strengthen your memory even into your elderly years. Memory is something that a lot of people have a lot of trouble with in the later years of their life, and music has been shown to help strengthen your memory if it is introduced early enough. Now, seeing as how many different benefits there are, it is really a shame that sometimes we often put down music in favor of other certain programs. We have lots of programs here at Willow Springs that we offer at like first and second grade. For example, we have lots of sports programs. Sports are very healthy for you. Being physically active is extremely important, but it's a shame that we are offering these programs at such a young age and staunching out any ability to have music programs in your life. When music has been shown and proven to have so many different benefits, we should have our programs be just a little bit more equal and a little bit more accessible to a wide variety of people. Some people don't want their children to be involved in sports, and it's a shame that we need to staunch out music in favor of a lot of different programs. So I wanted to help out this issue. I wanted to balance the scales just a little bit and make sure that people have access to music sooner in life so that they could properly develop themselves with music in mind. This is why I decided for my senior project to host an instrument petting zoo. Now, an instrument petting zoo is a concept that not a lot of people have really heard of. It is whenever you, as a student participating in the instrument petting zoo, will go up and play each and every single instrument available. Now, we had a lot of tables set up for all these different instruments. We had lots of helpers who are helping set up these instruments and help the kids play all the different instruments. And it was definitely a lot of fun. All the kids had a really great time with it, and it was definitely worth the experience. But before I could even host the event, I still had a lot of work to do. My event required a lot of coordinating beforehand. I had to figure out exactly where I was going to set up all these tables, whether it was going to be in the new gym or the Mudford Grimes Auditorium. I had to figure out how many tables that we were going to be, how many different instruments we were going to have, and how long they were going to have at each station. I wanted each kid to be able to play every single instrument, but that's around 200 kids if we're talking about 4th and 5th grade altogether. I had to decide whether to split them up and have 100 kids for 10 minutes or 100 kids for 10 minutes at each station or 200 kids for like 2 minutes at each station. So we decided to have it over 2 days. I also, if you know me, I prefer to talk with people in person. I like to talk with people face to face and have a really good conversation about what we're planning on doing. So putting my words into an email was extremely difficult to me, as that is just not one of the skills that I have, is writing down my thoughts and putting them onto a page. And I had a very lengthy email conversation with a lot of different people simply because an event like this has to be communicated with a lot of different people. If one of the 5th grade teachers did not know that we were having this event, that is around 30 kids who just can't participate in my event, which is why I just had to be as communicatable as possible. Another challenge that I had was making the slideshow. Now, before they could actually come up and play each and every single one of these instruments, I had a slideshow and a speech prepared for them to watch and listen to. My speech was just showing them my excitement for music and showing them just exactly what they're going to be expecting. The kids were going to be playing every single instrument and they needed to know the rotations and where to go and what was going on, and I really wanted them to be excited for my presentation, which is why I spent so long making my slideshow as perfect as possible, because I wanted to be as energetic as possible for these kids so that they would be as excited for band and music as I am. But the biggest challenge that I had by far was just learning how to be a good speaker. Now, I've never really gone in front of a bunch of people and spoke about something that I was truly passionate about, so I really wanted to make it as good as possible. I spent hours writing my speech and preparing my speech over and over and over again so that I could be as excited as possible for these kids. I really wanted to show them just how passionate I am about band and music, and I really hoped that it would translate, all of my hard work would translate to the kids so that they would be as excited as I am. Now, was I successful in properly engaging with the kids? I think I was very successful. For days after my project was over, I was hearing nothing about how fun this project was and how much band and music has impacted them significantly, even after just one time of playing an instrument. It really just goes to show just how important music can be in development of a child. All of these different people in my project were playing an instrument for the first time that day. They held an instrument for the very first time, and even then they were saying how fun this was and how amazing of an opportunity this was. Everyone who is impacted, everyone in my project had an extremely good time with it, and I'm very glad of the result that came out. I knew that it was going to impact some of the kids, but I did not know it was going to impact the amount of kids that it truly did. Many, many kids came up to me and said they wanted to join band because of this project. And because of that, every single time that they walk into a room, now the number of people who have played music in that room has gone up by 1. Rooms just like this could in the future be filled with people benefiting from music in their lifetime. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions? So I actually play a variety of instruments. My main instrument that I play is the trumpet. It's one of my favorite instruments, but I also play any other type of brass instrument. So baritone, I'm not really good at trombone, but I can play baritone and tuba. I can also play clarinet and saxophone, but that is not as good. The most popular choice of instrument was actually the percussion set of instruments. Percussion instruments are like drums and xylophones and stuff like that. And I'm sure it was very appealing to the 4th and 5th graders to sort of bang on the instruments as opposed to something more complicated than, buzzing with your lips or blowing into a tube. So 6th graders is when they introduced the idea of band, like you can choose it as an elective. And I actually did have a bunch of 5th graders who walked up to me and said, I would like to join band next year. What instrument should I play? Stuff along that lines. Like, I want to do band because of this project, because they played every single instrument and stuff like that. I will let you guys know, however, they did break one of the flags. I just figured I should throw that out there.
Who helped you with
Yes, actually. So if we go back to these pictures, I had a variety of some of the band kids that were playing it. We have like these guys were, she was playing percussion, she helped with saxophone, and they all just had, they were set up at each of the tables, and they helped two people per table were helping the kids out with whatever they were trying to play. Well, there was a second part to your question. What was it? Oh, who else was helping? Sorry, my apologies. My mentor was actually an extremely big help in this project. My helpers were a very, very important part of this project. I would not have been able to manage 200 kids by myself. So they were amazing for that. I thank them very much. My mentor actually was an extremely big part in getting all of this done, like the sort of behind the scenes project part of it. Setting up, like, we have some timers right here, like 13 minutes at each station versus 10 minutes at each station. We had that because if we split it up over 2 days, which is what we ended up doing, it was going to, one, take longer and be a little bit more of a challenge to like sort of rough out the dates. But if we had it all together, that would be way too many people in the same amount of space. We would not get as much time on each instrument. So having my mentor there to sort of help me out with this part of it was extremely beneficial to me. My mentor was Mr. Charlton, the band director, the current band director at Willow Springs. He actually said that it was one of his favorite projects that he got to see. And he also said that for days after the project, again, he was hearing about how good it was to the point where it slightly annoyed him. I've been in band since 6th grade, so this will be my 7th year, I believe. Thank you very much. Is that it? Oh, thank you guys. I don't know why I'm clapping. Thank you, judges, very much for judging our scores and spending some time out of your day to help set this up. Thank you guys very much. Oh, let me just make a really awful noise on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There was some sort of a thing. Or, so did we get the clicker and the
It's right
microphone?
here, yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Walk right out of it. So if you wanted to like, it'll be the clicker that you use if you want to test that. Okay. Do you want me to mic you for now or? Okay. loved it.
Okay. Do I need to test it or anything, or is it good? Okay. Can I start now? Oh, okay. Okay. Apple logo cracked. The back of my phone shattered even more. That's not good. Can I start? Are my judges ready? So I'm sure all of you have been shown something or seen something that was obviously misinformation or generated by AI. AI is making it even more easier to spread misinformation across the internet and across all types of social media. You're probably asking yourself, what exactly is AI? AI stands for artificial intelligence and is an intelligent computer system that can mimic human conversation. And not all AI is bad. Some AI can be used to assist instead of completely replace people in their jobs.
The first example of this I'm going to talk about is a new Photoshop tool that was introduced a couple years ago. This tool can take a 2D layer and change it to a 3D layer, or a 3D layer and turn it to a 2D layer in just a few minutes. This is obviously very helpful for both kind of artists because it saves them a lot of time and doesn't take away either of their jobs. Another example of this is the algorithm. All of you have probably used something with an algorithm before. It's your YouTube feed, your TikTok For You page, your Instagram page, all types of that stuff. An algorithm is a constant stream of information curated to you so that you never get bored on the internet and want to spend more time on it. The first potentially dangerous type of AI I'm going to talk about are chatbots. Chatbots are AI that can mimic human conversation through text or speech, and they use 2 liters of fresh drinkable water per 2,000 characters that they generate. And if you've ever used one before, they like to talk a lot, so they hit that 2,000 character limit pretty quickly. The next form of AI I'm going to talk about are image generators. These AI can create an image from just a simple line of text, a prompt, or a pre-existing image. These AI use 1.8 to 12 liters of water per kilowatt hour that they were used. And to put this into perspective, over 460 terawatt hours of electricity was used in 2023 by AI and cryptocurrencies. To put this even more into perspective, 1,000 megawatts are in a terawatt, and 1 megawatt can power 10 billion 100-watt light bulbs, or 750,000 homes. And of course, when things get popular, companies want to jump on the trend. The first company to fully start using AI was Google. Google announced 2 rounds of layoffs happening throughout 2023 that mainly affected the ad branch. By the end of 2023, most of their ad branch of the company was completely replaced by AI. Duolingo did the same. They replaced 10% of their contractors who were responsible for making the lessons for the app for AI and completely laid them off. IKEA, on the other hand, introduced a chatbot named Billy, which replaced the entire customer service department, but instead of laying these employees off, they retrained them to work in different parts of the company. And when they did this, they announced $1 billion in new income coming into the company. AI has also been very prevalent in the film industry as of late, with the films The Brutalist and Emilia Perez. Both of these films have won major awards at every big film award ceremony as of late. In The Brutalist, AI was used to enhance the main actor's Hungarian accent and generate buildings for the background. And this film won Best Actor. Emilia Perez used AI to enhance the lead actress's voice so that she could hit a note for a musical number, and this movie ended up winning Best Original Song. This is very bad for the film industry because we are starting to award the AI instead of the people who actually do the acting. This was one of the lead factors of a strike that happened in 2022 by the SAG-AFTRA, which stands for the Screen Actors Guild, and the American Federation of TV and Radio. This strike lasted 118 days, and they were protesting low pay and use of AI without the actors' consents. And when they eventually did reach an agreement, it stated all actors would receive a 7% pay increase, which would increase in the following years, and that companies would have to get the consent of every actor they wanted to use the AI likeness of. AI has also been heavily affecting the music industry, with it first being used by Nicki Minaj when she created a cover for her single Bigfoot, which was a diss track on Megan Thee Stallion. The Beatles also used AI, but unlike Nicki Minaj and the next person I'm going to talk about, they used AI to isolate the vocals on old recordings of the 2 members that had passed away and mix that with vocals of the 2 actors that are still alive today to create a song called Now and Then, which was released in 2023. And the actor, the music artist that is been most prevalent in the AI scene has been Kanye West. Kanye West used AI heavily on his past two albums, Vultures 1 and Vultures 2. And when asked if he would use AI again on his upcoming album, Bully, he said he would be using AI. But after receiving a lot of backlash, he announced that he will be re-recording everything that was AI with his actual voice. My product was the screenplay. It's right over there. And it's called The Greatest, and it's about a guy who wants to be the greatest tennis player, but in doing that, he pushes his best friend away, which leads to a fallout in the relationship. I decided to make this my product because AI has been becoming more and more prevalent in everyday life, and I wanted to make my own story without using AI at all, and just do it for myself and mainly other people around me to show that you don't always have to rely on AI as heavily as they do. I faced many struggles with my project that I didn't expect to face, with probably the biggest one being starting the story. When I was first proposing my project, I had the right idea in mind of what I wanted to do for my story, but when I actually sat down to start writing it, I just didn't know how to get to the part I wanted to get to. I knew how I wanted it to end and how I wanted to get there, but not how to start it and get to the part that's getting to the end. Another big issue I had was it not saving. I had to restart completely twice throughout my project. The first time, it did not save because I didn't press save, which was my fault. The second time, it was the website's fault because I did push save, but it still didn't save. But I ended up using this to my advantage because every time I had to restart, I would take everything that I liked about what I had before and move it on to my new version, and then get rid of all the stuff I didn't like, to eventually create the best version of my story that I could. Discovering my style was another thing I did during my project. When I first started, I was writing for everybody else instead of writing for myself. I was always wondering if everybody else would like this instead of whether I would like this. But when I got around the halfway point, I told myself to stop caring what everybody else thought and write the story for me and make it how I want it to be. And this kind of goes into overthinking and writer's block. I had bad writer's block throughout a lot of my project, with it being almost a month I took on one scene at some points, with that happening right about in the middle again. And I would write something, and then I would just sit there and think about how I wanted to change it or how it's not very good. And I would get stuck on that one part over and over and over until I would just eventually just tell myself to move on and forget about it, which is what I did. And I ended up finishing it all within the span of like a week, which was a pretty long week. And by me writing my story and telling my story, I hope that it inspires you guys to write your own stories and not rely on AI as heavily as people are nowadays. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
How long did it take you to write it, start to finish?
It took about the whole length that I was given to do my senior project. I started a month late because I was trying to make an outline, and then I started, and then it got deleted, got deleted. And then eventually, I think I started in January on the final draft, and then I finished it in March or whenever it was due. I've thought about it, and I've never really had the confidence, but I thought maybe doing this would give me the confidence to do it, because I would love to tell more stories about the characters in my screenplay and go on and branch out and eventually finish the story as a whole. I thought about that too, and I don't want to do that until I'm happy with where it is. I'm happy with where it is, but I want to do a little bit more with it before I put it out for everybody to see.
What is the biggest thing that you learned during this process?
How to write and format a screenplay, because I thought it would be more like writing an essay for school, but it really wasn't. There was a lot of differences, like how when you start a scene, you have to completely go down a few lines and then have a line all by itself telling whether the scene's going to be interior, exterior, what time of day. The dialogue was another big thing, where the character's name is on a line, and then below that is their dialogue, and then down below that you have to tell what they're doing while they're saying it. It was just a lot more tedious than I thought it would be.
So who was your mentor and how did they help?
My mentor is Miss Barry, and she helped me by pushing me forward when I would get stuck, and she proofread it when I got it done so I could make edits, and just helped me format it as a whole. Thank you.
There. Finish it up. And then you'll see it right over here. And I'll mic you up here in a minute. Here's your clicker though. The white line there.
Everything was just here, but he left this. This is product. Oh. He left it. If you want me to, I can watch it. Get her kitchen. It's whatever. Yeah.
I did it to him yesterday before. Hurrah. Then it hit me till I walked in that door. It's usually how it works. I don't know about that. Talking's pretty hard. Oh, I know that. I see how. I feel targeted for that one. Better watch it, Julie. It's too late now. Are my judges ready? As the worldwide population grows every single day, it is important to remember that the elders' mental health is just as important to me, to everyone as it is to just us. So this is the Senior Shuffle by me, Larry Cheney. So as I said, for population in 2020, people over the age of 60 accounted for 18.7%. This is in the US. And then that also meant people over the age of 65 years old accounted for 13.5%. And over the next 20 years, this is likely to increase 129% over the next 20 years. So one of the main causes of mental health for elderly are isolation and loneliness. Isolation can cause many health issues, physically and mentally. It is a 32% increase in dementia. I believe it's a 52% increase of disease, and then a 57% increase in having a stroke. Also, like I said, loneliness is also another cause. It increases death by heart failure by over 4 times. It increases hospitalization by over 57%, and then a 58% increase emergency room visit. So I believe that the elderly need our help. Elderly people over the age of 65 and older only about 52 or 53% know about depression and the symptoms and how to combat depression. And again, 53% of people believe that depression is normal as you get older. And I believe this is being true too. But as you get older, I feel like you need to also have ways to combat this depression so you don't get depressed and end up doing something you might regret later on in life. But out of that whole 52%, only 42% will ever ask or receive help. So why I chose to do my senior project, I was undecided for a senior project. It was closing in to about the 3-week mark. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was just joking around one time at dinner, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to throw a senior citizen prom. And then after that, it just kind of stuck. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it did. So originally, I planned for the dance on December 13th, but due to other activities going on that day, like basketball games and it being a Friday night, no one from other clubs, which I invited, would want to come help me with just help me not to run around with my head cut off. But it also worked better because there was events going on in that building too. There was an auction going on the night of the 13th. So it just worked better for me to reschedule it to the night of the 14th, and that being December of this last year. So for the food, I decided to have a potluck. So that meant everyone brought a little bit of something if they wanted to. And then the employees and the cooks mainly brought the food, but we also had some guests bring some food, which I tell you, the food was really good. Some old ladies know how to cook. So for decorating, I did a little bit of the decoration on the night of the 13th. I couldn't really do much. I did most of the big stuff that night because, again, they also had that auction going on there, and it was about 9:30 before I could get into that building. So I didn't really want to do too much, and I didn't want to stay there till about 2 a.m. that morning. So majority of the decorating, like the tablecloths, just filling out the questionnaires, putting the questionnaires on the table, doing final touches were on a day of the dance on the 14th. As you can see here, there's some pictures. There's a tablecloth over there on the far right. You can see a picture booth, put up a Christmas tree. It's just a little bit of decorations we did. So I wanted the public to come to the dance. I wanted everybody to feel invited to come to the dance. So I created a flyer on Canva and had a couple people proofread it. But to my surprise, just the other day, I figured out that I put a word in there wrong and it was mistyped. So I had to change that, which I'm surprised no one caught it. It was posted online too and everything. So that was a little embarrassing. But, you know, so I also displayed it at local businesses. That being Pizza Americana, the library, the community center, and then I also put it up at Wagner's, and then just a couple other places around town that I knew some elderly people would be. And then here you can see my fixed flyer now. It says where the dance is and that they're invited, the time, where it's at, and live music and refreshments will be there. Overall, I think it was a good time. I enjoyed it, and I sure as heck hope they enjoyed it. I learned a couple dance moves, which I did not think I would learn. But so I wanted to know more about their life and what advice they could teach us. So I created a questionnaire on Canva that just asks about their favorite memories, some advice they could give us to younger folks, and other things, odds and ends. So here's some answer. Here's my questionnaire. It's like, where did you and your friends, family usually hang out? What was your favorite memories growing up? What were some activities you loved during that time? Just questions to help me get to understand them. So I really was looking for the advice. So some advice I took with me were, remember your parents were once kids and understand way more than you think. Work hard, study hard, and make a lot of friends. Enjoy life. Don't be in a hurry to grow up. And be honest and respectful. Live every day to the fullest and save money, which I have a hard time doing that nowadays, sadly. So I also asked what life was then versus now. And then, so life was way slower, they said, compared to it is now. They weren't always on the run. They were just kind of just cruising along, less stressful. I feel like back then, if I was a kid, I would have loved being a kid back then, way less stressful, and a lot more simpler, lot less, just more enjoyment of your time. I feel like I'm running around with my head cut off too much, and I end up not enjoying some of the things I should be. As compared to now, life is always go, go, go. Way more stressful. Again, I sometimes hate being a kid in this generation because it's sometimes all the stress, and then way more complicated. But some challenges I faced and overcame was leadership. I'm not a very good leader sometimes. I tend to let other people do that, and I'm more of a follower, but that didn't really work out for me in this situation. So I kind of had to take charge and technically speak my own opinion on how I wanted things, and that was interesting sometimes. And then communication, I'm very good at communicating with people my age and about middle age, not when it comes to about 50-year-old and higher. I feel like my language just does not match what they understand and what they like are trying to remember what that means. So I kind of had to, I also talk a little fast sometimes. So I kind of had to slow down and change my language a little bit. And then planning appropriate activities. It was brought to my attention there that I should teach them how to dance. And I was like, well, I don't know what dance. And everyone started throwing out wild ideas. So it ended up being the floss, which I thought was probably the safest one of them all, because I don't want them to throw out their hips and that be on me. I really don't want that. So I had to plan appropriate activities. And then here are some pictures of it. And then in the middle here, you can see I had a prom king and queen. And how I decided that was on the questionnaire, I asked what their age was, and whoever won that depended on the oldest lady and the oldest man there. And the oldest lady ended up being my great grandma, and ironically, that was not planned. And then the prom king ended up being our old neighbor, which he did a lot for us, which that was also unironically planned. But I enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun, and I hope that it brought a smile to their faces. But I believe that us as younger generation needs to take time and remember that we aren't the only ones that need to care about our mental health. We also need to care about our elders' mental health. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
I think that there's a big issue in our community with elderly isolation.
As much as I see a lot of older people getting out more compared to here. I feel like Willow is more of a retirement town, so I feel like a lot more people that are retired go out and do more. I don't really see that a lot in like Springfield or like Rolla or bigger towns, which I think our community is pretty good at getting our elders involved in things as compared to some communities.
What was your favorite part of it? Your most memorable part?
When I got to crown my great grandma for being the queen, that tugged on some heartstrings a little bit.
What would you choose, if you could pick one thing, what would you choose to have changed or done differently that you did?
I wish I would have done it sooner. I feel like I waited a little bit to the last second, and I feel like maybe the cold. I feel like I would have got more people if I didn't wait till December and maybe moved it up a little bit. And then I'm sometimes a procrastinator, so I felt like I waited to the last minute to do it. But I think if I would have had it in November and October, I would have got even better turnout.
You'll have to
Everyone kind of brought their own ride. I didn't really think too far into that, but if they needed help, I had me and a couple other students there to help get them in if they needed to. Woo, that's over with. Thank you.
clicker and the.
Oh.
and
Okay,
that.
so now I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, it's been like that all night. I don't know. When it's going to change. And I don't know if moving it because it's cut off on the other side. I think it needs to be like in though, because it's cutting it off on both sides. You see the words? They're cut off on it. So I think you can see it all here. You can see it all online. See what I find that. That was a really good one. You have like 6 minutes before you have to start. Okay. Be right over here on the side, about the, right in there, and you'll stand over on the other side. Yeah. This will be your clicker, if you wanna make sure that it works for you there. I'll mic you up here in a little bit. I'll give you a few minutes. You got 5. Fresh fruit. I'll just be sitting right here. Right here.
God. No. Don't want any added people. Don't want any added people. All my judges ready. Working on your own vehicle is a dying art in the United States. All new vehicles are made to break at a certain time, have problems at a certain mileage, or have so many computerized parts it's nearly impossible to work on them on your own. Hi, my name is Carson Smith, and I believe it is a very important skill to learn how to work on your own vehicles. When I was 16, I bought a 73 El Camino from under a tree that had sat for years, and it needed a lot of work to get done, to get it to work. So I knew I wanted to try to do it all on my own if I could, which led to me getting to spend a lot of time with my dad working on the car, getting it going, and he taught me everything that I know now about working on vehicles. This was a great learning opportunity for me, and it can be a great learning opportunity for everyone else that wants to try to do their own mechanics. So a project car can be a really good start to learning mechanics. Like I said, I got to spend a lot of time with my dad, and he taught me everything that he knew about mechanics. And we ended up getting the car running eventually. It took a while. There's two types of vehicle maintenance. There's major repairs or routine maintenance. Major repairs would be by having to buy or rebuild a motor or trans, having to replace diffs, axles, body work, major stuff that costs a lot of money. And then there's routine maintenance, which would be spark plugs, filters, changing fuel, or changing oil, stuff like that. That's a lot cheaper, but it has many benefits. Some of these benefits, for one, is reliability. If you keep up with routine maintenance, then your vehicle will be way more reliable, and it can save you a ton of money not having to spend money on these major repairs when something major breaks. Another good way to save money is by choosing the right vehicle for what you're using it for. There's no point in having a four-wheel drive vehicle if you're never going to get off the pavement, because that's just more parts that could break and that you would have to spend money to fix when you don't even need them. Another good example would be you don't need a V8 vehicle if all you're doing is going to work and back and you want to save gas. A four-cylinder gets a lot better mileage than a V8 does. So choosing the right vehicle will help you save a ton of money. In today's world, there is a major lack of mechanical knowledge. So most people don't have a clue what needs fixed on the vehicles when something breaks, and they just take it to a shop. So vehicle technicians
would be your interpreter when you take your vehicle to the shop, which can be good or bad. A lot of times they will tell you that you need to fix more stuff than what you really need to, and since you don't know anything about mechanics, you just tell them that you'll fix it, so then they make more money off of you. It can also be a lot cheaper to buy your own parts instead of going through a shop. Shops usually upcharge parts because they know they can make more money off of you. Parts usually are a lot cheaper to just go to the parts store on your own, buy your own parts, and then put them on yourself. Doing your own vehicle maintenance can save you a ton of time. For one, you don't have to wait for shop appointments. Shops get backed up, usually always, they're always backed up, so you're having to wait days, weeks, or even months just to get your vehicle in, and also wait weeks to months to get your vehicle back out, depending on how busy they are. So it can save you a lot of time if you just do it on your own time, and then you can get it done. It can also lead to job opportunities. There is a major lack of mechanics, vehicle technicians, people like that in the United States now. So if you were to learn your own mechanics, it could get you on a start to a mechanical job or something like that and give you job opportunities. First reason for my choosing this project was I like to work on classic vehicles. I got the El Camino, and then we have an 87 Chevy, which is what I did my project on. But I have a passion for working on classic vehicles, and I like to work on my own stuff. The truck was in disrepair. It needed some work done to it. So I seen this as an opportunity to get some work done on the truck and get my project done. And it was something that I love to do. So I just used it for all. I also got to spend time with my mentor, Shane, which he was able to add on to what Dad had already taught me about working on El Camino. So working on the truck, Shane was able to teach me more about painting vehicles, more about the wiring and understanding all of that, because that's what he does. That was the start. It needed painted, it needed some work. None of the lights were really working like they should, so it needed some wiring work done. First I had to wash off the bed. It was covered in mud and wood bark, stuff like that. So I had to wash it off. Then I had to sand down some of the spots that were rusted on the bed so that the paint would stick to it correctly and apply evenly and not chip off in a week or two. And then it ended up taking between 2 to 3 coats to get everything even and looking how I wanted it to. On the wiring was a mess everywhere. It was quite difficult to get everything how it needed to be, but first I had to go through and sand down pretty much every one of the grounds to all the lights because they were all corroded, had mud on them, rusted. So the grounds weren't working right, which was causing the lights to not work right. Next, I had to go through and pretty much replace every connection that was in the truck because they were corroded, rusted, stuff like that. They were covered in mud. So I had to go through all new connections, and then there was a few wires that was cut, corroded, and stuff like that. So if they were too far gone, then I just had to completely run new wires to some of the lights. I'd also ripped the chain box door off of the truck at some point, so I wanted to put that back on so it wasn't letting water in, getting on the tools, or stuff falling out of the toolbox. First, I had to wash it off and get it painted so it matched the truck. And then the old hinges was still on the chain box or on the door, so I had to grind the old hinges off, figure out where it needed to go, figure out where the hinges needed to be lined up for everything to work correctly, and then weld them back on. The first challenge that I faced was finding enough time that I could work on the truck without me needing it. I sell wood through the winter, and we also had cows, so we're having to use the truck to hay. So I needed the truck pretty much weekly all through the winter. So it's hard to find a time where I didn't need the truck long enough that I could keep it clean, paint it, and fix all the wiring stuff. It was also a big challenge to get all the wiring traced to where it needed to go and get everything working correctly. All the wires were corroded in places and all tangled up, so I had to track everything, and it was a challenge to get everything right. My biggest challenge was I ended up having to get surgery on my shoulder right in the middle of my project. So I wasn't able to work on my project for 8 to 10 weeks between getting surgery, being in a brace, recovery. So it was a big challenge to have enough time after surgery to get it done, but I ended up getting it done the last couple of days that I had. You can see some of the lights not working correctly and some of the rusted spots that I had to fix. And then I got all the lights working correctly, got it painted back, and then I had the chain door put back on. But I believe that doing your own maintenance on your own vehicle is a very important skill. It can lead to job opportunities, saves money, saves time, and it can be a really fun hobby to spend with your family and friends. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions? Possibly later down the road. Yeah, right now it's just a hobby. I just like to do it, and I like to have old vehicles.
What was your biggest, when you were in there fixing it, or anything that happened unexpectedly that you had that was challenging that you had?
Yeah, the main power wire that runs to the front lights on the truck, like factory, it just has one wire that runs back and then it forks off. That wire was gone when they had changed something. So I ended up having to run a new wire all the way up to the front through the firewall and tap into somewhere that had power. So that was the biggest unexpected thing that I found. I thought it was going to be a little bit more simple of a fix than it was, but it was not.
What part of it do you enjoy more, the wiring and stuff like that?
Not
or
wiring.
Do you enjoy the painting part of it?
The painting was a lot more fun than the wiring was.
I just didn't know if you preferred more of the challenge with the wiring.
No, I do not like wiring.
Not that I would either.
Now I sold it. I drove it for a year or more, but then I ended up selling it. Probably not, but it was really fun. Oh, I forgot. No, I'm all right. I would like to get this off.
you up now?
Yeah.
Pretty sure, but it might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, sure. Are my judges ready? Music is everywhere in our society. In fact, it has been increasing in popularity over the years. For example, a streaming service that everybody has heard and has probably used called Spotify has released data that over the past 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, has increased in listeners from 68 million to 320 million listeners. Hi, my name is Roman, and this is the power of music. There are 4 points that I wanted to talk about. The first one is the increase of memory that music brings us. From the jingles that we listen to as kids, like the ABCs that helped us to remember our alphabet and like the states and capitals, and the way it reduces stress, how it calms our brain down and helps us to rearrange our focus from what is the stressful part in our life. And my favorite, it provides comfort, the way that music can help you to relax and help you to get comfortable in any situation that you are in. And the way it sets your atmosphere. Imagine a long car drive without music. It would just be boring and lame. And music is there to help boost your entertainment and let you enjoy your fun with your friends. So the way it increases memory, like I mentioned before, the jingles that we used to listen as kids, the way it helps us to memorize our ABCs, like the states and capitals that we use in history, from the books of the Bible that we use in Sunday school. and so on. These jingles help us to improve our memory in the way we study and learn things. And the way it brings back memories, we all have those songs and those people that we can relate different songs to, and the way music connects us to each other. And it just brings back memories to the song that you've heard, that you've listened to with that person. And did you know that the leading cause of diseases is stress? And music can reduce your stress. In one way, it rearranges your focus from the things that you are stressing about, the things that are ahead of you that you are scared of. Music can help you to calm your brain down and to just focus on the things that are more important than the things that are scaring you. And it creates motivation. If you have ever went to the gym or just went on a jog, you like to listen to upbeat music that helps you to stay on beat with the tempo. It creates like kind of this little tempo thing that, like, whenever the beat is going fast, your body will push you to go just with that beat and that tempo, which creates motivation, and it can help you to improve in whatever you're doing. And it calms the brain. Like I mentioned before, it can calm the brain down in listening to quiet and instrumental music. It could relax your brain in many ways. And like I said, my favorite, it provides comfort. Everybody likes to be comfortable. Everybody likes to enjoy their time. In one way, music can create comfort is it distracts the brain. It could rearrange your focus, like I mentioned before. It could, from the way we could just relax on our porch and just imagine things that we could never imagine. And it just distracts our brain from the things that we're, scary things are ahead of us. And it provides relaxation. Like me personally, I like to listen to music when I sleep, and it helps me to relax, and it just helps me to get better sleep, I would say. And music is a really good relaxation tool that you could use. And a big thing that is getting popular is music therapy. Music therapy is used now in a lot of different ways with, for example, with people with dementia. It can improve and relax you in many different ways. And it sets the atmosphere. Like I said, it sets the mood. Whenever you're on a long car trip, you like to listen to music and have a good time with your friends, or you're at like a birthday party or a party where you could blast your favorite music to set the tone and create a better atmosphere with your friends. And it boosts this thing called dopamine. Dopamine is like a good feeling chemical that your brain releases when you are satisfied, and it just brings you joy when you listen to music. So for my product, I wanted to create something that I could learn from. I like to learn, and I just wanted to try something new and try something I never have done before. So, and also I wanted to create something with my hands. I like to use my hands, and I like to be creative. So creating a song was the perfect way to do that. So writing my song, getting started for me was a very long process. It took me a while to get started because I procrastinated a lot, and I waited until the last couple months to start. Excuse me. And the way I started was I sat down with my guitar and just played chords that like came to mind and I thought it sounded good. And with that, I started writing the lyrics. And I knew I wanted it to be something about that was Christian, something that was like worship, and something that was about God. So, jeez. I wrote about the love of God. It's very important to me because the love of God, because without the love of God, dang, bro, I can't spell. Without the love of God, I need water. Thank you. Sorry. The love of God, it's very important because without the love of God, we would not be here. And because His mercy and His goodness, He saved us. And without His love, we would not be able to have eternal life. And while creating this product, I used this program. I wanted to use this program called GarageBand, but I later figured out that it was only for Apple products only. So I used Studio One 3. It's the third version. There are seven different versions, and I've come to the conclusion that the third one was the best for me. And I used two different actual instruments. It was piano and guitar, and the rest was I used my keyboard to play the drums and the bass, and there's a little bit of violin. And Madeline Berry featured on the song. She started at verse 2 and finished throughout the song, and it really helped to bring the song together, and really brought it all together. So with that, I made this. Oh, and hardships that I went through was learning how to use the software. As you can see, it is very detailed and has a lot of buttons. And learning the software was my first time, and it was a struggle for me. And arranging the tracks, getting everything on tempo, how I want it to be, and when something is off tempo, the whole song will sound bad because it's just everywhere and it's all mixed up. So I had to rearrange a lot of things and re-record, and polishing the song. Like I said, learning the software was a struggle for me because it was hard and had a lot of details. So polishing the song made it even harder because I couldn't get it to how I liked it for a long time, but I figured it out. And so with that, I created the song called So Beautiful, and I uploaded it to YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And so with that, while studying music and the impact it has, I learned a lot and created something that I could never thought I would be able to, and I learned a lot from this. So, do I just have any questions?
Are you planning on creating any deal, or is that kind of a passion?
I want to make, I do want to make more music, but
If there was something that you could have done differently, one thing that you could have done differently, what would it have been?
probably starting earlier, because I started pretty late, and I really had to hurry and finish before the deadline. So, yeah, starting earlier, and
What was your favorite part of doing this?
favorite part was the outcome, how it all came together, and I liked it at the end.
I listened to it.
Thank you.
As you went through this process, you
melody
Mm.
first, and then you kind of created the verse to go along with the melody. During the course of your writing, did you change the melody at all, or once you had it, was that pretty much your final melody?
Yeah, so I had two different melodies that I started with, and then it kind of just changed over time. Once I kind of added more lyrics and the way I wanted it to go, it changed, and the style that I wanted it to go changed. So it changed 2 times, I think.
Oh, like, it changed from what to what?
Oh, I had different chords that I played.
Did you change keys?
No, no, I did not. Just the chords and the tempo.
I listened to your song as well, and it was kind of a softer, more melodic. I don't know if you call it kind of like pop.
Yeah.
Are you interested in trying to write songs of other genres?
Yeah, I kind of want to make it more upbeat. I enjoyed what I made, but I wish it was more upbeat and more like exciting. So. No, my throat is like closing. No, this is the first time it's ever happened. I don't know what happened.
Allergies. Yeah, they're bad right now.
My throat just hurts me.
I didn't know if it was like a stressful thing that happens.
This does never happen.
Oh. I don't know whose that is.
I don't know.
We could have, I don't know whose it belonged to. We could have offered you some of the water in here.
Today's lunchbox. I was like, I'll try to find water. I'm really sorry it was flavored and like, it's all I had. See you later. See ya. Yeah. See you. You did good, buddy. I'm really sorry. I was digging through your lunchbox for a bottle of water.
Oh, you're fine.
He needed a bottle of water, and I was trying to find one. I figured it was better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
Sure.
Kathy was sitting here, and she goes, "Who's that?" And I was like, "I guess Mr. Davies."
Yeah.
She like laughed, and I was like, "Oh." So I took the cap off of mine because he was like, "I need water." It's cleaner water. You can have mine. So. Yeah, thank you.
He almost gave me water.
I told him, I was like, I kind of like chicken, kind of dug through your lunchbox a little bit, but like.
It'll be all right.
I don't think we exit out of anything, right? We just leave everything.
I think so. I mean, I guess we could close out of that, but.
I'll let. Yes. Hey, calm down. It's not been a hard shift for you to sit there.
They're all standing out in the hallway.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you remember Maggie, I got from, yeah, you know, Kelly. Yeah, I saw a recent picture of her getting in the garbage that you put.
I was just curious.
Well, and I'll show you her most recent picture. Are we still being recorded?
I think so, yes.
I think, I don't know how to turn it off. We have to.
I don't, is that our job?
We gotta be careful with this. I know, every time they say it's being recorded, I'm like, yes, right, I did.
Is it our job? Have we ever cleaned up?
I
I mean, I've helped before, but I don't know.
Anyway, but, I sent a message to Callie a month or so ago, and I said, I just want you to know that your dog ended up in a good home, well loved, she's had a good life. When she's gone, I'm gonna be heartbroken. I tried to figure out how old she is. That's what I'm not so sure, but she's old. I think we got her 2010, and she was not, she was young, she wasn't high. So she was maybe 09 or 10. She may be Oh, and as she was trying to get away too. Well, no, it was an aggressive dog, and this dog.
Buddy, right now we're still